Hello everyone! I'm super excited to announce an entirely new Bouy framework and platform today. But before we go into that, I kind of want to talk about the state of the recycled platform. Obviously, if you have access to these FAD buoys and you're interested in doing remote marine monitoring, it's a slam dunk. You have, solar panels, the enclosure's seaworthy, batteries, iridium network, GPS. There's a lot in here that your deployment is going to need that you now have access to for free. But unfortunately, the success of a recycling project like this one is not going to be just the quality of its reference design and the accessibility of its reference design. Granted, it's always great to have a good reference design. It increases the value of the buoy at the end of its life cycle. It's brought a lot of publicity to the subject. We actually didn't even have a Wikipedia picture in for these buoys until we started doing our project. But the thing is that the level of access to these varies so much. The skill level that people have varies quite a bit. And also the tool availability varies quite a bit internationally as well. So the idea that you're going to have, a large-scale recycling program, one hacker in one garage and one buoy at a time is not really a feasible one. I do think the conservation space is ripe for hackers, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. Right, the kind of things that will make a project like this successful is community outreach. How many people are being affected by this problem? Can people kind of get together and start working on it? Then part availability, right? You need to have all of these dropped off at your door so you can get to work on them. And then of course, what really would make the project go then is like tooling and workflows. And that would really be the core of a project like this. For example, if you have 50 buoys and you want to recycle their battery packs, the real innovation would be a really great way to test 50 battery packs very quickly. Same thing for the solar panels. Maybe you want some sort of electric load for your solar panels. Maybe you want a cell antenna, or you want an antenna array for the iridium modules. Maybe you have like some jigs, so that way you can cut out the exact part of the circuit you need in a very repeatable, precise way. But again, that's like an entirely different project from the reference design in of itself. So we are going to keep pushing forward on this. We are making headway, getting that community outreach and so forth. However, we really do want to have a way for people to reproduce our work. And if you don't have access to this, you're just out of luck. So here's the big reveal. If I didn't already give it away. Big reveal, I'm a pickle. And that brings me to this. Gosh, I think it's kind of pretty. We're really hoping this is going to be like the Swiss Army knife of open source marine remote monitoring projects. There are so many different requirements per deployment. Some people have their buoys floating on the surface taking weather readings. Other people want theirs underwater doing camera work. In the case of OpenCDT, right, it's traversing the entire water column. And in the case of the Cave Pearl project, it's actually suspended and then behaving like a pendulum. So there's a lot of different hardware configurations people need for their remote marine monitoring project. And there's a lot of repeat problems people need to solve. And so we're hoping this is going to kind of address all of those in one package. Before I start breaking down each system individually, I kind of want to go over our specific design goals when we set out with this. So our goal with this was to provide people an open source remote marine monitoring platform that would allow them to deploy and develop with confidence. So that's kind of like a big overarching theme, but so what does that actually mean in terms of tangible deployables? For me, there are a few. The first thing it means is it needs to have remote access or some way to get feedback. If you leave this thing out in the water, if you put your own custom design out into the ocean, you're going to want to know that it's still working. You're going to want to know your services are running, that your data is being captured, maybe where it is if it's broken off its mooring. Right? That is essential. The second requirement for this is a robust enclosure with testable seals. I know it sounds a little silly, but it's just a lot of work to get these things open and closed, just to access all of your electronics, charge batteries, do any last minute tweaks you need. And then if you don't have a way to test your seals, it can be very troubling when you first put it in the water. And to make it development friendly, we need to provide a way to make it easy for people to mount their own components on it and easily extend its hardware functionality. So our second requirement is that the design should be easily extensible and adaptable to your specific deployment. And we got into that a little bit with the different hardware configurations in terms of the buoy's mounting orientation. But in this case, what it means is like selectable hardware. So if you're doing your underwater camera, right, your cell modem's not going to do you any good. And if you're doing something that collects small amounts of numerical data, for example, weather, wave height, water parameters, you're not going to need 1,000 gigabytes of storage. So these things should be selectable. In addition, the battery should be modular. So in this case, you can add as many or as few of these shorty LiPos as you want. So you can have just the one and then the Raspberry Pi on the other side because the mounting plates are universal. Or you could spawn off, infinite battery packs as your enclosure allows. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to support different mounting configurations as well. So if you want it floating off the bottom, hanging from the top, floating at the surface, we need to support all of this. This mostly just comes down to having a robust enclosure and just different ways to ballast the buoy, but that is definitely a requirement. But we don't only want to support people's specific sensor designs, we also wanted to provide a few opinionated designs as well. So that way it's really easy to get something going as quickly as possible. So in this case, we do have our hydrophone, our camera, and our water quality monitor, and a motion sensor and that kind of thing. In getting to our final requirements, we also wanted every single part to be replaceable, serviceable, right? Nothing should be like permanently glued in by default. And you should be able to take everything apart, inspect it, and put it back together. And the last one is an easier said than done, but it would be good if the software was similarly extensible like the hardware is. So just really quickly, what we have in front of us, starting from the top, this is a cell modem antenna. So it uses a global SIM modem that will work on any cell network worldwide. There's the modem itself. We also have a 1 terabyte SSD card, a Raspberry Pi, although the software supports a lot of different clones, and we have our own custom power management board. Below that, we have our 2 LiPo batteries. These are shorty LiPo batteries, which is an RC car platform. And you'll find that is extendable as well. And this is like our first sensor module. The whole platform fits into a 3-inch PVC pipe, which is pretty easy to find anywhere, and provides more than sufficient pressure resistance. I'm going to be doing detailed videos explaining how to build all these modules, and also our sensor modules, including one kind of showing how to create your own sensor module from scratch and using the resources we've already laid out.